This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kara Heifel. I'm with the Illinois Restaurant Association, and I'd like to thank you all for joining today's webinar, Game-Changing Digital Tools That Will Grow Your Business. Today's webinar, we will hear from a number of experts and our partners at Square. It is also being broadcast in English, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese. To listen in Spanish or Chinese, please use the interpretation button in your toolbar. This webinar is being presented by us here at the Illinois Restaurant Association in conjunction with the Cook County Small Business Source. It was established to ensure businesses emerge from COVID-19 intact and positioned for growth. The Small Business Source connects small business owners with expert guidance and support. Some of these services include no-cost business advising, resources, and events that connect small business owners with a community of advisors and each other. For one-on-one business advising, sign up at cookcountysmallbiz.org. It's free and super easy. There's really no reason not to. So the Small Business Source will then connect you with an expert from their network, including one of the experts partners here at the Illinois Restaurant Association. All of their contact info will be included in the follow-up email that you'll receive after this webinar. Also, before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone attending and let them know that us here at the Illinois Restaurant Association, all our staff, we remain a resource to you and the hospitality industry at large as we continue to recover from the past few years. Our staff is focused on providing guidance, assistance, and relief to restaurants, bars, caterers, event venues, and other hospitality businesses across the whole state of Illinois, as we all work to emerge and operate fully again. We're sending regular email updates to thousands of operators around the state, and with anything that you need to know to operate your business effectively, and any resources we provide are all in our email and on our website, illinoisrestaurants.org. We have a host of different resources that we provide and email updates, including a pro bono legal network and much more that really can help as an asset for you. Now, for today's webinar, you can use the Q&A button in your toolbar to post your questions at any time during the presentation. Or if you see another attendee has asked a question that you like, you can hit the thumbs up icon next to the question so we can use that to get to the most popular question. And I'll be watching the questions coming in, and we'll get to all of them to the best of our ability. And now for the main event, at this time, I'd like to introduce our panelists. With us today are Jonathan Benigoni, Restaurant Product Specialist, and Scott Lobel, Restaurant Technology Consultant, both with Square. Jonathan and Scott, take it away.
Thank you so much for having us, Kara.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure. We're both very excited to be here today talking to everyone about future-proofing your restaurant with Square. I think that some folks view Square as the tiny little white reader that attaches to your phone. And, you know, Jonathan and I are kind of here to talk to the restaurant operators about all the new technology on the restaurant side of things that can help power their operations. So with that, we'll go to the next slide, please. When we talk about future-proofing your restaurant, we want to talk about and acknowledge the restaurant industry challenge that some of you all might be facing to this day. We'll share some research on key challenges, you know, that you're all facing. We want to talk a little bit more about automation done right. So we'll walk through ways to use restaurant technology to adapt and grow your business, and provide our top tips for evaluating a restaurant technology vendor. And we'll talk about some point of sale workflows that save time and money. We'll share some concepts, examples of ways to leverage your point of sale to streamline your operations. Next slide, please. So staffing challenges, you know, hopefully those are getting better. We've heard, you know, some folks, you know, mention that there are still some staffing challenges that are affecting revenue, fewer covers, increased staff acquisition cost, which has an impact on profit and margins. 73% of restaurants today are saying that they are still experiencing a labor shortage, and restaurants are saying that an average of 21% of positions are unfilled. So we're here today to talk about how technology can help solve that problem. Next slide, please.
All right. And for this one right here, for overcoming those staffing challenges, what we have found is that through the pandemic, people have had to learn how to take sales in different channels that they had never considered before. Imagine if you were a fine dining chef's tasting restaurant, and then the city told you at March 1st of 2020, as many of you in this room probably had happen, that they're no longer able to have people in house, right? So now you suddenly have to think about taking online sales. We have to suddenly think about kiosk methods of point of sale. We have to think about taking sales table side. And then we also got to think about ways to maintain our distance across the countertop, right? So with that said, people are going to be using this technology and leveraging it to make sure that once again, we can accept revenue however we can. Machines are never going to replace you and your staff members, but if you're short on people, using these automated tools can really help you to push your operation over that line to make sure that you're able to serve all of your customers. Having those alternatives are key nowadays, we're finding. Self-serve ordering by scanning a QR code, kiosk ordering with self-service in-house is something that has really been on the rise and on our radar as a company over the last couple of years. One interesting statistic that our product team was able to pull from all of our existing sellers, we have tens of thousands using our platform, and we were able to survey all of their customers because of the way that our platform works. And we asked them, if you prefer to order in person, online, or through a kiosk, and 79% of customers as of March 2021 said that they prefer to do remote ordering options. So talking to somebody is still definitely key. We need to be able to provide that service, but being able to provide remote options and less interactive options with your customers is going to be key going forward as well. Let's go to the next slide. Was this one you, Scott?
Yeah, I think yeah. Well, I think we're going to kind of talk together. It's very much of you and I working together. It's like we do normally when we're talking.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, it goes in line with the last slide, but it really is like, where can automation come in to fill the critical gaps, if at all, when you're not at full staffing capacity? So being able to manage orders that are placed online, at the restaurant, and via delivery apps. All these channels are coming inbound, and you have to be able to accept these orders, from all different channels. So we had a quote here from one of our sellers, Liz Fielder, that our labor cost percentage for an entire beer garden is 150% less than it was when she owned a 300 square foot frozen yogurt shop. And that's entirely just because of QR code ordering. So you can kind of see like this chart on the left here talking about accepting payments, communicating with customers, managing real-time restaurant capacity, making reservations, tracking item availability, and none. So you have to be able to kind of fill all those gaps. And I'm not sure, maybe if I missed anything, Jonathan, if you wanted to chime in, if you have any thoughts.
We know that we are very acutely aware, both through our interactions with our sellers on a daily basis and through the data that we collect, that providing automation to your staff members is going to help shift them to being able to concentrate on those higher value tasks within your operation, right? If we're short on servers, that's okay. We can suddenly use a fleet of QR codes, and we can transition those few servers that we have, that small and mighty team, into instead of being independent contractors and independent servers, to being a holistic hospitality manager, right? They can touch more tables. They're spending less time fussing with technology and typing in orders, and more time serving the guests and making sure that they're having a good experience. So once again, we want you all to be, as a company, we want you all to be concentrating on what you do best. You didn't get into the business to fuss with technology all day. You got into the business to give your customers a good experience and to provide the wonderful food that you cook. Next slide, please. Yeah. Oh, was there anything to add there, Scott? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
I was just going to say, sometimes it can be overwhelming thinking about introducing a new technology, but I think the great part about, what Square offers is that you can test it on a very small level and grow from there. You don't have to jump all the way in. You can kind of just test it out, get comfortable with it, and then scale it as you and your staff become comfortable with it. So I just kind of wanted to drop that in there.
The land and expand model.
Yeah.
That is like 100%. Technology can be intimidating sometimes, right? So being able to actually scale into it at your pace, because you're so busy every day, is very key. You don't want to suddenly be sucking up all of your time by messing around with that new software provider all day. 100%.
Yeah.
So Yeah, let's talk about those new sales channels.
Cool. So, restaurants that are offering online ordering, many of you might be offering online ordering, say that an average of 34% of their revenue currently comes from those channels. So that could be first party online ordering or third party delivery ordering like DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub. But since the pandemic, it's just validated, Square's omni-channel strategy, that people are ordering online. So it's a huge part of your revenue. So something that you should always be thinking about if you're not offering it. Again, could be overwhelming to think about introducing that, but really it's very similar to a phone order, right? Like it's just, reducing that time your staff spending taking that order and manually inputting it. It's just coming through from the online segment of technology. So not sure if you had anything else there, Johnny.
Yeah, technology is ubiquitous. It's around us at all times. We are all tethered to our devices. Heck, mine's right here on this desk right in front of me while we're talking, right? Most of our daily operations, ordering food, getting rides, calling and texting our friends, interacting on social media is happening on our devices. So why can't we squeeze your restaurant directly into people's devices that are in their hands, right? Everybody is so used now to these big, broad, wide, marketplaces and ecosystems, like Scott mentioned, the DoorDashes, Grubhubs, Uber Eats of the world. And no matter how, you don't have to be a multi-billion-dollar, multi-hundred location type of place to be able to opt into those services. There are tools that can provide you an enterprise level experience in the ability to reach your customers that those Starbucks of the world can reach for a fraction of the price. Something that we're definitely very proud of. That word that always gets bounced around in our in our industry is omni-channel. It's kind of one of those gross poppy words, it's businessy. It's like synergy from a decade ago, right? Everybody always said that, but omni-channel is just really hard to describe it in other ways. Once again, we want to meet your customers wherever they are, whether it's online, if it's on their mobile device, if it's in-house, scanning a code, or walking up to an iPad themselves.
Actually, Jonathan, that brings up a great
Please.
point. We just had a question in the chat from Kimberly, who says, how could a 300 square foot frozen yogurt shop save using Square digital assets? They're a quick serve restaurant ice cream business.
Oh, hey, Scott, do you want to take a first stab, or
Yeah.
do you want me to take the first stab?
I think that it could be good to maybe sync up with Kimberly after the webinar to talk about her specific operation and how there might be ways of saving, because without knowing, what exactly she's doing today, we can have a consultative approach and say like, hey, let's say, what are you doing today? How can we change that for you and potentially save time, money, and such. So that would be my recommendation if that's okay with Kimberly. It sounds like she said great. So we can definitely set that up afterwards. And I did see another question come through in regards to more fees by having online ordering. So when you're talking about Square online ordering specifically, we don't charge a monthly rate to have Square online ordering. It's simply just whatever the processing fee it would be attached to that particular order. That's a public something that is visible on our website. I believe it's 2.9% plus 30 cents, on each order. But outside of that, there aren't any other fees. Now, there are certain plans that are, more advanced than others that you can pay annually for. And that's, again, public info that we can share with the attendee afterwards or have them speak with a sales representative. So, but no other monthly fees for Square online ordering.
Absolutely. And to kind of like piggyback off of Scott a little bit for his answer with Kimberly, which, by the way, really good question. I definitely did want to kind of, reiterate what Scott said, that, hey, everybody's business, we talk to them every day. Everybody's businesses, Scott, they're just as unique as the people themselves that open them, right? So everybody's situation, everybody's demographic that they're targeting, everybody's neighborhood is different. So off the top of my head, though, Kimberly, if staffing's an issue, like I said before, we could always use QR codes. We could always maybe roll out a kiosk at your location. But also, though, if you don't accept any online orders, why not offer delivery directly through a Square online page? We also we offer a product called Square on-demand delivery. So which means that even if you don't have your own delivery drivers, what you can do is you can kind of skip over all of those extra percentage-based fees and commissions that DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats charge, and you can make it look like you're delivering it. So a customer would go to your site, They click on the items that they want. They say that they want it for delivery, and then you can choose the provider that you want, or you can choose the best applicable provider. And so then that Uber Eats or DoorDash driver shows up at your customer's front doorstep with their frozen yogurt, and everybody is just super tickled, right? Then you've also saved a lot of money because you only pay a flat fee to DoorDash. I believe that it's a $1.50 for those orders, Scott, right? Like
That's right.
you're more of a pricing guy. Yeah. So in my opinion, I think $1.50 is better than upwards of 18 to 30% of each order. So definitely another really good value prop. Once again, accepting those orders online and being able to accept on-demand delivery partners or no extra fee with us. We are not here to BS anybody. Like Scott said, it's all public info. We show exactly what it is, one flat rate. And one thing that we really love to stand behind is that we don't make anybody sign a contract. It's really, really difficult to find a merchant processing company and a point of sale company for that matter, that's not going to require you to get into a long-term commitment. To me, I always hate to throw shade here, but it feels to me whenever somebody's forcing me to sign a contract that maybe they don't have all of the security in their product in the world, right? Maybe they're not so confident about the solution that they're offering. Maybe it's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, right? So our job as a company is to earn your business every month because you can take your iPad and you can up and go to wherever you want afterwards. So once again, another big value prop that me and Scott are humbly bragging about throughout this presentation. So now I think that pretty much hits it for like the new sales channels. So guys, the idea here, making sure that you can once again reach your customers in their devices, on their laptops, in person, or if it's a self-serve type of station.
I think I think we did have another question come in. I do think it kind of correlates with what we're talking about now because it shows like the opposite side, which TJ is asking about in regards to all of this for quick service and it working for maybe he mentioned Gen Z, like for QR code ordering. He's curious about the correlations with like a full service, full service concept. How is Square working for that? And I think Jonathan, like you've had experience working in that scene. So I'd love for you to, paint a picture of the full service aspect of it. I know that we were at the show in Chicago in May and we had our whole setup there and a lot of operators were kind of impressed at what we could do. And they didn't necessarily know that Square offered that. So I think this is a perfect time question. And maybe then we can get on to the next slide.
Most definitely. Yeah. Like Scott, thank you for holding me accountable with that chat. ADHD kid here. I need to be guided sometimes. With that, TJ, first of all, great question there. So with Square, that is a common misperception that Scott and I deal with on a daily basis. Like Scott said, one of his first things during the presentation here, he mentioned that people always perceive us as a little white reader. Oh, that's for a coffee shop. Oh, that's for a candy shop or whatever, something that's simple for countertops. That's not the case. With Square, we support businesses no matter how big or small they are, no matter if it's quick service or full service or a mixed use case. So if you are more of like a polished kind of casual full service concept, TJ, we offer features like a full-on table map. We offer things like very variable displays, being able to have our lunch and dinner menus separately. We provide coursing, seat numbering, the ability to move tabs, transfer items between them. So all of those full service features that you would come to expect from a point of sale to operate that. I kind of jumbled up at the end there, but Scott, was that clear? Anything to add there?
That's perfect. And if you're signing and tipping on a traditional paper receipt, we have that option as well. If you're not a fan of like the table side, they hand you this device and you sign and tip right there. You can absolutely operate as a fine dining establishment or more of the traditional, black tech book, traditional paper. So these are just options, right? You have a lot of options when it comes to how you want to operate with our products.
Yeah, you're always going to know your business better than we will, right? So our job as a company is to provide you with all the hardware and software solutions necessary to be able to meet those customers wherever they are or however they are. And TJ, I agree with you. Like Gen Z is going to be a lot more receptive to scanning that code and placing the order themselves. But yeah, you get 85-year-old Gerald from down the street coming in. He might be a little bit more reluctant to do that. Luckily, because we do truly have an umbrella holistic style point of sale solution to our seller's operation. That means that if somebody is adverse to taking a QR code payment, why not take it on an iPad with a case on it and reader connected? Why not use a mobile device like so to be able to take that payment? Heck, even print out a check from one of our handheld terminals. So you still mix that more tech forward approach along with the traditional style of payments, because admittedly, especially in the States, because we still allow signing and tipping on a paper copy, I think it's something that the that the industry in the United States still hasn't fully caught up with yet. If you're going to a fine dining restaurant, you're sitting down for that $85 steak, it still does kind of feel weird to have somebody standing there with the device while you're trying to carry on a conversation with your wedding party or whatever, right? So sometimes being able to have that flexibility of dropping that check in certain situations, but then maybe they have a complicated split, maybe bring over that device for them to be able to split it up themselves and to take payment however you need. Once again, all the tools necessary to run the business, no matter what the type of food and beverage concept.
Thank you.
Very
Perfect.
long-winded answer there, but hey, there's a lot of angles. TJ, I want to commend you again on the very thorough question there. Did we touch on everything? Yeah.
We touched on
Gen
everything.
Z. That was it.
You also touched on this a little earlier when you were speaking about just kind of meeting your customers wherever they are, right? Like, so just get discovered by more customers and reduce the friction of placing an order. I always like to have you imagine, like, for a second, I know you're so focused on your current operation, but what's it like when you're a customer, right? If you go and you purchase something, think about that. Think about the ease of the transaction. What does it look like, right? Is it big, clunky looking, kind of older school thing, or is it nice new technology that's out there today? So I always like for folks to step back a second, think of it that way as they're evaluating a new change at their own restaurant.
Absolutely. And Scott, we keep on now we're getting synced up here because you were talking about reducing friction. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on as well. Admittedly, we did start in the quick service space, right? And so our name of our game for the first few years that our company was open, that we were actually, suddenly powering full businesses, were spent with quick service. And so we had to compete. And so what we've done is we've created a super seamless solution. If there are certain steps within a sale that are too much, that add too many steps to it, we can shave those off by altering the settings. We can change the behaviors of your items to where we maybe skip over the modifiers and the notes to make it a one-click entry into a sale. There's so many little small behaviors that you can learn and then fold into your daily operation that can really help you to save labor by the end of the year. For example, well, we're going to get into the duplicate order typing and stuff later, but reducing friction. Let's think about online ordering. How often have you guys been like on a website, with your phone, or on DoorDash or Uber Eats, looking for dinner for tonight, and then it's like, oh, whoops, my card expired and I forgot to switch over my payment method. Then you got to go in and type in a bunch of stuff and you're like, well, you know what? I'm just going to eat the leftovers in the fridge. We never want that to happen. We want your guests to be addicted to your brand. So we even fold in stuff for our online platform like Apple Pay and Google Pay. We utilize cash and cookies on your buyers' browsers because, hey, if I get lunch there 3 times a week and I always get my chef's salad with an extra side of ranch, why not take that cookies data from the customer's browser, which is legal to have, into checkout, and then give them a more seamless experience. You click into it, and then next time Square's going to say, hey, do you want to order this item that you got last time, that you've gotten the last few times? Go ahead and add it to the order. Then those modifiers will be pre-selected. So we want to cut off as many steps, not only for you as the end user of the software itself, but also for the payer, like for your buyers that are coming in or ordering online.
Great. I think we could go to the next slide.
Yeah, let's do the next slide here. So let's go ahead and step back in time a little bit here too. So what you guys are looking at right here, this really jumbled up, chaotic picture is basically what is necessary to be able to run a business, right? We have our online ordering, we have our third-party marketplaces, in-house point of sale, kiosks, payroll, scheduling, team permissions, inventory, purchasing, ordering, all of those important details that are literally your day-to-day life. Normally, in the past, what you had to do is you had to paste together a bunch of solutions. We actually take a platform approach to our development. So instead of being a bunch of whitelisted services that are kind of sewn together to make it look like it's a cohesive solution. We actually put our money where our mouth is and took our time to build a foundation to push these products off of. In my past, like I have about 11 years in the food and beverage industry. I was mainly back of the house because admittedly I have a little bit of a temper, so it was a better place for me. But I would have killed for these types of tools when I was a chef kitchen manager, being able to digitally make my schedules, be able to follow up with people directly to their phone to say, hey, the schedule's ready for next week. Feel free to trade shifts however you see necessary, right? That stuff would have been awesome. But instead, how it used to work before Square came along and changed and disrupted the payment space was that if you were a restaurant and you were, processing anything less than about $1 million a year, and you went to a bank to say, hey, I'd like to process credit cards, normally they'd probably laugh you out of the room unless you had the most perfect credit in the world. But then if they did decide to go forward, what would happen is you'd have to give them thousands of dollars. You'd have to have an underwriter basically investigate you, give you multiple hard credit checks on your credit history. And then a few weeks later, they would give you a yes or no answer. And if it was yes, they would give you a piece of, technology or a touch screen from 1998, loaded up with really outdated open source software and say, here you go. Oh, you want to know your sales reports? Sorry. Oh, you need to limit what your employees are able to do in there? Sorry, right? That's a bunch of BS. Once again, I didn't get in the business to paste together a bunch of software. So what Square does is we change those disparate solutions that don't work together, and we truly create what's called a cohesive platform. So this is a good time to say that Square is not a point of sale software company. That's not the name of our game. A point of sale software company is just a one trick dog. What Square is a payments technology company that just so happens to make awesome points of sales. And as you can see here, all of these features that you have here are going to come together underneath our umbrella. Did I miss anything there? Oh yeah, so no more manual data reconciliation, no exporting, no more having to import stuff, no more having to add up your DoorDash sales to your Square sales, to your Uber Eats sales, to your online sales. Everything is going to be all in the same place. Anything to add there, Scott?
No, perfect. It ties perfectly into the next slide, actually, which I believe we can go to. Oh no, this one I think we've covered. Is just a picture of kind of what you just beautifully put. So I think when we talk
my bad. I
like
get so excited, Scott. I can't help it.
I know, no, you're very passionate. So like direct third-party order injection, which Jonathan was kind of reviewing, all of your orders going into your point of sale, without that duplicate order entry, the real-time reporting across all of your sales channels, right? You don't have to worry about, getting something from another area. Your accounting can be in all one place, and your point of sale is truly just the single source of truth. So I do think the last 3 slides kind of talk about kind of pulling it all together, not having to work with several different vendors. Really looking.
Let's real quick though. Let's real quick talk about those duplicate order entries though. Can we go back one more slide to like the little colorful one in the circle? So the duplicate that one, yeah. So the duplicate order entry, what this means, because this is a little bit jargony sounding admittedly, what this means is that you guys have probably seen this, or you might be experiencing it right now. If you accept any orders from third parties, you probably have to have a bunch of different devices. Does anybody here have the tablet farm up front? Think about the gross inefficiency that occurs because you're having to take those orders on a different device. So you accept that order in the iPad, then you have to enter it into your existing point of sale. So if you take a few, 20 orders a day, right? 20 orders from a third-party source a day, and then you're paying that staff member. Annualize that over a year, and you're going to be kicking yourself in the teeth because you're going to be regretting that you weren't able to have that all under one area. Once again, we want your staff members to be concentrating on those high-value tasks within the restaurant operation. Sorry for the tangent there, Scott. I just wanted to make sure that we covered that side of it.
I appreciate that. No, that's definitely a good point to hit on, because I do hear that a lot about the tablet farm, taking up space on counters and it just being a, complete waste of time, really. So I think that being able to help solve that can really free up a lot of time, like you mentioned.
And I think that this will be a good time too, like, unless you have anything else to include about this particular slide. I think this will be a next one. The next slide is going to be a great time to talk about evaluating the tech partner. So, hey, we know that once again, learning new technology is like learning to brush your teeth with your other hand. It just feels weird. It can be uncomfortable. And then it's kind of a scary situation, especially if contracts are involved or a large investment is involved. So Scott and I, we talk to prospective sellers every single day. We're a good fit for pretty much all of them, but hey, not every system is going to be perfect for everybody. So we want to make sure that we're still giving you guys the tips that are necessary to be able to fully assess all of those choices that are out there. So when you're looking for technology, when you're looking for technology, what should you be looking for? You should be looking for a partner, not a vendor. You don't want somebody just to sell you a product. You want somebody that has a vested interest in your growth and that is going to grow and scale with you. So the first thing, is this system in stasis or is it growing and dynamic? Have you bought a program that's going to remain virtually the same for 10 years until your contract is up? Or is your point of sale going to constantly being evolving and getting iterated on? That's something that we pride ourselves on as well. We take feedback directly from our sellers. We aggregate that data, and your guys' word is actually what helps to inform the growth and development of our product as well. Then Scott, hey, I'm going to let you handle these contracts because you talk about that stuff every day, buddy.
For sure. You hit on it earlier on, but we don't, have any contracts with Square. So there is flexibility to opt out, if your needs changed. So I think a lot of times, you're talking to someone about a very lengthy contract, you really want to understand that contract and think about if you really want to get involved in a long contract. But that's one of the things that Square has never, made any of our sellers kind of agree to. There are no contracts with us. You can test our software out prior to making a commitment, which I think is a huge factor. I'm not sure of too many other folks out there that allows that. You could basically just download the app right on your iPad and play around with it before you even decide. So that's, we talk about the contract aspect of it quite a bit, and I think that it's a great benefit that we offer.
Yeah, what if it doesn't work out? And what if you're on the hook for $30,000 to break that contract, right? There's a lot of implications that you have to think about before putting your name on that line. So then how nicely does the system play with other solutions? Sometimes you do need to paste together a couple pieces of software. Like for example, Square, even though we do a holistic solution that can run your whole business, we still play nice in the sandbox. We have what's called APIs. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Basically, all those parts of our platform that I showed you earlier, we've separated out into little snippets of code. So if you're a developer or if you have your own website, you can actually utilize our APIs to be able to like put our payments platform in another area that's not Square's. So something that's really beautiful there. Then also, if once again, this ties into playing nicely with other solutions. So if you're a QuickBooks Online user, for example, and you just really love their accounting, that's okay. Square has good reporting too, but if you prefer theirs, once again, we're not here to change your whole entire operation. So why don't you just integrate QuickBooks directly with Square? Because all of our partners utilize our APIs, so everything is safe, everything's covered, PCI compliant, no liability on your part, and then once again, concentrate on what you do best. So then how much those integrations cost? Recently in the news with some big competitors in the market with us, people are starting to charge for integrating with other partners. Could you imagine that? A software company charging you to get features that they don't offer you. Unreal, right? So always pay attention to that fine print. Make sure with the solution that you need to run your whole business that you're not going to be incurring like extra unannounced costs. Then the last part here I kind of want to touch on too, Scott. I can't help myself. Do they take your feedback to heart? I kind of mentioned this earlier, but what happens when you ask them for a feature? What happens when you ask them for a workaround for something, right? Do they have somebody to give feedback to? Is it going to be an email that nobody answers, right? You want to always think holistically about the humans that are going to help you. One thing that's always surprised our sellers is because Square is a big publicly traded multinational app, they think that we're somehow anonymous. We have teams of point of sale experts that are staffed 24/7 around the clock every day, every night to help you through all of your questions, because we know that you guys are going to be taking sales all parts of the day. And you know how much that service costs? Nothing. Our support is absolutely free. We also have a great online support center with great content to help guide you through any of those questions as well. And then also, think about cultivating the relationship. Scott and I are in the sales team, so we help to acquire our net new sellers. But then once you've been with Square for around a year, you're going to get assigned an account manager. So you're going to have one person that's going to be your liaison at Square that's going to help you to grow and cultivate the relationship and manage your feedback and make sure that you're satisfied with the product that we're offering. Then to even get started, we would have an awesome implementation team too. I can't help but always plug them whenever I talk to people, because I came from the implementation team. If you ever get started with a new point of sale system, whether that's us or another provider, I highly recommend using an implementation specialist, because you want to make sure that you get going the right way the first time. Don't fumble through it by yourself and possibly mess something up that could have implications for your sales reporting. Let us take that initial labor off your plate, show you the ropes with how to use it, and then even support you personally after going live. Anything to add there, Scott?
Yeah, I just wanted to add the feedback, right? So our team takes feedback from restaurant operators and brings that to our engineering and software development team frequently. So they're using your feedback to shape the future of our technology. And our engineering and our software development teams are completely separate from the rest of Square. They only focus on Square for Restaurants. That's another kind of misconception that we do here, is that they're just using, they're working on all things related to Square, but their focus is simply growing the restaurant technology and improving it for restaurant operators. So I definitely wanted to hit on that because it's important.
Yep,
Absolutely.
we are constantly investing in you. Oh yeah, sorry, something to add there, Kara.
You're good. Speaking of feedback, we have a question in the chat of someone that uses Square and other digital platforms, and is asking, what is Square doing to bridge the gap on integrations between Square and other digital ordering platforms like Weebly, Kiosk Buddy? Because as you highlighted earlier, it's less manual labor, so less staffing costs, but there's still some manual labor there. Is Square doing anything to address the gap?
Yeah, well, first of all, Weebly is actually one of our products now. So Square Online is formerly known as Weebly. So they're actually completely underneath our platform now. So Danielle, to answer your question, if you do have an active like old school Weebly account and you're having a hard time linking it up with your Square merchant services, please get in touch with your customer support, with the customer support line or your account manager. And then we can make sure that we get you in touch with the e-commerce folks to do some back-end changes on your account to be sure that those can be fully integrated with your Square point of sale, because we are designing this. It's the current product is designed and configured to be able to run the kiosk orders, the Weebly online orders, but they're Square Online now, directly through that central point of sale. Hopefully that's helpful there. But yeah, we're always growing and iterating on those APIs too. Yes, Scott, sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah, I'm sure that the account manager would be happy to take the feedback as to like what manual entry you're still needing to do, so that they can understand that and then work with our partner like Kiosk Buddy to find out if there's a better way of doing it, or if there's something that we need to build out on the engineering software development side. So I definitely second Jonathan's, get in touch with either customer support or your account manager to talk through that.
Yeah. Hey, and admittedly, sometimes too, we do have a very easy to use intuitive system, but we always want to be honest. Sometimes it can be deceptively simple too, because things are folderized. We try to make our views on our websites look very, very simple, very light. And so sometimes we move things around too. So this might be a good opportunity as well to even have an optimization call with one of our implementation specialists, just like a short call to really kick the tires in your account and be sure that all those little loose ends are tied up and that the whole operation is working as designed.
Cool. And I think we're getting to one of the last slides here. We can go to the next slide. So there was a question in the chat that asked what other benefits you might receive if you're a member of the Illinois Restaurant Association if you use Square. So we do have a form here that you can contact us to set up a chat after the webinar, but you'll receive free menu setup services and you may also be eligible for 1 year of Square KDS, so Kitchen Display Screen, 1 year of Square Online, 3 months of Square Payroll for free, dedicated one-on-one onboarding support, and then we're going to cover the first $25,000 of your sales, the payment processing of that. So that's roughly between $250 or $300 value or so. If you decide to move forward with Square, if you feel like it's a fit for your operation.
Yeah, and just to clarify once again, we pride ourselves on our transparency. The $25,000 in transactions is the sales that are processed through your point of sale. It won't be $25,000 worth of the transaction. So like Scott said, $250, $300.
Right. I mean,
All
I
right.
love how you highlighted that that Square doesn't make you sign like your life away on a contract, because you got to earn your business every month, and restaurants know that all too well, that they have to earn business every hour, every meal, every day. So that's great.
Yeah.
And then we have another question in the chat, trying to get a hold of a specific Square representative, and just want to remind everyone, we'll reach out to this person directly, the Square team, and all the information and contact information directly will be sent out after this webinar.
Yeah, I just saw Michael's there too. So yeah, we can make sure that we get you in touch with our account management team so that they directly reach out. Hey, we definitely do our best to touch every single account that goes through, but every now and then things can slip through the cracks. So we're definitely very sorry if you had a bad experience with that. So we'll make sure that we make that right for you.
Great. And then I also, feel free to add other questions in the chat for the attendees. I also had a few questions that have come up from our members in the past. How long does it generally take to fully integrate a new digital tool such as Square into your business?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can take that one just because I do come from an implementation and support background here at the company. So if you are going to be like a full service or like a multi-location quick counter service style restaurant, onboarding to Square, like if you have multiple locations, a little bit higher complexity, what we want is about 2 weeks to get fully onboarded, because we're going to have to get all your menus. So we're going to have a consultation period to make sure that we build those menus the way that you want them, like that we discuss your modifiers and everything like that. It takes a day or two to get that done. We can get it done quicker a lot of times too with some of our automated tools. If you want to just import like an existing DoorDash menu, we can do that now too. So there are ways to cut corners. But once we get that menu built, we teach you the back end, we teach you the front end, and then we even support you personally, for a week after going live, and then you'll go through our general support line after that. But about 2 weeks on average, but with my past on implementation, I've been able to get somebody up and running, within about 24 hours, which is beautiful. That's one of the beautiful things about our platform, is because we are the merchant of record, because we are the payment provider, because we are absorbing all the risk for that, there's not all that extra red tape to like get the underwriting, to get the merchant services agreement created. You can just kind of type in your info, get your account created, plug and play and go. So that was one of our big selling points here. So as quickly or as slowly as you need, whatever pace you need to get going, we got your back.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. And with implementation, do you guys have guidance on how to properly train staff and get team member buy-in from an HR standpoint to make sure everyone's on the same page, and recommendations from that implementation standpoint?
Yeah,
Scott, I can take this one again, unless you
lived on the implementation team for so long, so you've seen it. You've worked in the restaurant.
I feel like such a conversation hog. Yeah.
No, that's totally fine.
So depending on the size of the operation, depending on like your staffing, on how big the staff is, what your shift structure is like. I mean, our implementation specialists aren't going to be available at 2 a.m. for like your late bartenders if you guys are a 24/7 type of bar concept, right? But with that said, our software is the easiest stuff to use in the world. If you have any millennial Generation Z staffers, they pick it right up. I've taught staff members within 5 to 10 minutes on site. On site is like a separate service that we can offer. But typically, we normally just teach the management and like the leaders of the company, and they're able to pretty quickly teach their staff members that. But that's something that we can always work out during the onboarding period. We can still do like a remote staff training or an in-person staff training with one of our implementation specialists to once again make sure that everybody's on the same page. So I've taught people that are 17 years old how to use it, and I've taught people that are 90 years old how to use it. And I studied music and English when I went to school. So if I was able to set up thousands of people successfully with Square, you guys, with all of your experience in the industry and with using other systems, you guys will most definitely be able to navigate it. So definitely have faith in yourself, trust yourself. The technology is not as scary as you think it is.
And a lot of the answers are actually on Google. You can Google pretty much any question about Square, how to do something, and it will pop right up. We have our seller community. Not sure if some of the sellers here today are on that, but it's where Square sellers go on to talk about the product and how to do certain things that they may not know about. So use those resources as well. And you can just find a lot of great answers there too.
Yeah, and on the topic of the future of restaurants, how have you guys, from the Square perspective, seen the pandemic change the nature of how restaurants need to operate and consumer demands? You briefly touched on more digital demands, but is there anything else you can touch on about the future and where you see the future of the restaurants going from a digital perspective?
Yeah, I'll start, and then John, I know you can chime in. One of the things I don't think we really talked much about was like our kitchen display system, right? Like removing that paper aspect of the back of house, right? So we have the kitchen display screens now that are just available on any iPad that you can kind of download that on there and remove yourself from, those printed receipts if you want to save, the environment, save money on paper. And then again, back to online ordering and a lot of other, digital ways of kind of removing and changing the way a customer is going to order. But I know you have some stuff to add, right? So.
Oh yeah. Well, no, like I always got something to say, you know me. But with the pandemic, I mean, with inflation, we saw people's cost of goods soaring. We saw inflation soaring because we are touching millions of businesses on a daily basis. We have the data to show like kind of the health of the economy. We're kind of a proxy that way. We saw people diversifying their offerings. We saw people suddenly actually assessing cloud-based solutions like ours for the first time in their entire business because of the flexibility that we offer. These people were so entrenched with Micros. I've had it since 1997, since they released the software, and I've never changed because they made it the exact way that I wanted it to, and it's not broken, let's not fix it. Then once margins got shorter, and things got a little bit thinner out in the economy, they suddenly started realizing all the extra fees that they were paying, PCI compliance fees, gateway fees. Scott, what are some of the other fees, the BS fees with credit processing? Like there's a whole list of them. There's like a deposit fees, right? What else is there?
I mean, EMV, PCI compliant fees.
Yes.
There are monthly fees for certain credit cards. If you've ever looked at your credit card statement, which I do urge you to just take a look and just get a check on what your actual blended processing rate might be. We do statement analysis also. Sellers send us their statements. We have a tool that we plug everything in, and we can actually show you, well, you're actually paying this percentage if you roll all of the fees into it. So, and some folks aren't aware, right? And it's just like there's a laundry list of different types of charges. Interchange this, interchange that, different cards, Chase Sapphire, Chase Preferred, Chase Business, Amex, right? It's very confusing, very confusing. That's, one thing we didn't touch on is just like our flat rate structure across all credit cards, which folks seem to like because they know exactly what they're paying. They can see that in their dashboard every day, right? So it's very transparent. And there aren't any other really hidden fees attached to it, and no chargeback fees. So there could be a lot of fees depending on the merchant processor. It just depends on which one.
Yeah, and so like another long story short, then with some of the trends that we saw too, is people were looking for stability, people were looking for consistency, and they were looking for fixed costs that they could actually factor into the pricing of their products to make sure that they could stay afloat. Having good transparent fee structures, having a really good knowledge of exactly what you're paying before it ever happens is a really good way to make sure that you're not going to be like overextending yourself as you're trying to run your operation. Then also, not to mention, we have little hardware promotions here and there. We always figure out ways to spice up the pot and to incentivize people to come our way to chat about the point of sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, accepting credit cards is a necessary thing for all businesses, especially restaurants. And there's I must add that there's a recent bill introduced in Congress by Illinois' very own Senator Dick Durbin called the Credit Card Competition Act. And we'll send out more information if you subscribe to Illinois Restaurant Association's emails and how to best advocate for that, so it's more competitive and less of a variable as you check those credit card receipts.
Yep, consistency is key.
Absolutely. Did you guys have anything else to add before we about run out of time?
Gosh, we could go on
No.
for hours, but I think we gave a good little taste of what we can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, we're about out of time. And I'd like to thank everyone, all the people that participated in this webinar and attended, especially Jonathan and Scott from Square. I'd also like to thank the Cook County Small Business Source for all of the continued efforts for resources, information, business advising, free pro bono legal work, and all the small business support that the Cook County Small Business Source provides in conjunction with us at the Illinois Restaurant Association. And a quick reminder before we wrap up is after this webinar, we will send out more resources. This entire webinar, the recording, the slide deck, and contact information for everyone at Square. I'm sure they'd love to give you a demo and work with you directly after this, and encourage you, if you're not an IRA member, to become one because of the benefits highlighted earlier. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and be on the lookout for more resources after this webinar. And everyone have a lovely Thursday.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
having
so
us.
much,
Bye,
Kara.
everybody.
Bye, y'all.